TitleMatchNetwork.com.
Sting, again, because my role was such a minimal role in things, I didn't really start working with Sting until quite a while after I'd started at WCW. When I did, Sting was always kind of a reserved, quiet guy backstage. He didn't socialize, mingle. He wasn't a loud, gregarious type of outwardly friendly guy, but he was a polite guy and a professional person. But I never really got to know him until much later,
Okay, 7. Why did the entire deal with Sting and Hogan go wrong when you had, expertly built it up that moment when Sting won the title?
Chemistry and expectations. We had put so much into that. A lot. It was set up perfectly. Nobody had ever done anything like that before. His character was over. It was great. I have to be very careful here because I don't want to say the wrong thing. Sting had issues. Sting was going through his own challenges during that time. And it's probably better served for him to talk about those things than for me. But there were issues there. And our expectation, meaning mine and Hogan's, was that this was Sting's time. And he had an entire year to prepare for that moment or more. And we never really, we saw Sting, he'd come in, he'd have his coat on, he'd have the vulture and the makeup, and he'd go away, or he'd drop down from the ceiling, drop somebody in her head, leave. We didn't see a lot of Sting. He'd come, he'd go. Okay. So by the time we got to Starrcade, and this is another moment I remember specifically, because we got into the room when it was time to sit down and go over the finish, talk about the way things are going to lay out. And it was clear that Sting hadn't not only not worked out in an extended period of time. At that time, he didn't look a whole lot different than I did at that time. Bigger, but not. He didn't look like that. He didn't look like what we hoped he would.
Right.
No tan, and he came in deflated. I don't want to say deflated. That's not true. He came in with less intensity and energy than I think. I know I was kind of like, wow. And I know Hulk was, more so than me. I was like, dude, we've built this up. We've set the table, and you couldn't have bothered to get a tan or get to the gym for a month before this happened. In all honesty, and I love Sting and Steve Borden. I love Steve, and we are friends. But the truth is the truth, and it's the truth from my perspective. He may feel differently. Hulk may have a different perspective. I'm giving you mine. From my perspective, it's like, man, there's something missing here. Now I know what it was. I didn't then. Now I do, after, having conversations with Steve. And he may not ever talk about it, but I know what was going on. And it was just a bad time. It was bad timing.
Who was at fault for the fast count, and why was it allowed to happen? Was anyone ever penalized for it?
I honestly, I don't know. I know that it happened. I know it was controversial. I know there's a shitstorm because of it, but I can't tell you whose fault it was. And it might have been one of these things where everybody was kind of pointing in another direction and blaming each other. I don't know, to be honest with you. I'm not sure I knew then, and I clearly don't know now.
What do you remember of the angle you did with Larry Zbyszko at Starrcade 97?
I remember it was fun. Somebody sent me a picture of me in the ring with him. And I went, wow, I was a lot thinner back then. It was fun. I like Larry. I did one of my first promos with Larry. So
right.
There's, it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Urban legend time. Is it true that you bought a new leather jacket every week when you got to the TV? I guess because you didn't want to carry it on planes and stuff like that.
That is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that, so I didn't know how true it was. So.
No, that's not true. That's really silly.
In 2014, is it possible it's time to get away from the realism and send the business back towards more of the older logic, or no?
I don't think so. And the reason I say that, now if you would have asked me that, before reality television, I would have said yeah, because everything's a cycle.
Yeah,
everything comes and goes. Pendulum swings, but I don't think the pendulum will ever swing back to a totally, WWF 1980 kind of presentation, because the audience has been saturated with reality. And now that they've kind of been saturated with reality, going back to that animated presentation of the product, I don't think will ever attract a big audience.
What makes a good reality TV series?
Same thing that makes a good wrestling show. Great characters, great story, drama, controversy, conflict, a good backdrop, but it's really the characters.
Since reality TV features strong characters, which is manipulated via editing, how different is it from producing pro wrestling, which is manipulated via the booking?
There's probably more similarities in many of the shows that you see on television to wrestling than people realize. Because, with wrestling is the ultimate, well, it used to be anyway. I don't know what it is anymore. It used to be the ultimate unscripted program. I mean, talent, you would put talent in situations and you kind of knew what the outcome was going to be, but you didn't really know how it was going to play out and what you were going to capture until you captured it. And that's really the essence of reality television. Now, reality television, a lot of it is much less set up than professional wrestling, but the essence of it is still the same. It's not people they're not actors reading dialogue off of a script and then performing. They're people put into situations and then performing.
What's more satisfying for you, producing TV or wrestling?
Depends on the wrestling I'm working on, and it depends on the television that we're producing.
Out of all your TV projects, which do you feel most proudest of?
Really, the way BHE TV is set up, Jason Hervey, my partner, he's probably more hands-on in some respects. Some of the stuff we do, he's all hands-on. And if I sit back and look at the shows that we've produced, Devil's Ride on Discovery has been great for a lot of reasons. They're kind of like your kids. You look at them and you like them all for different reasons. I like Devil's Ride a lot. The Scott Baio show, even though, that was obviously scripted, it was a sitcom. Right. We didn't really have a lot of hands-on. Jason certainly did. He was involved in a lot of that. But, to break into a new genre, you have to be proud as a company, and you're proud of your staff and your team, and in my case, my partner, to be able to do that, because it's not the easiest thing to do. To be, known for wrestling guys and reality guys and then break into sitcoms. Not hard to do. And I think we did like 60 episodes of that. That was pretty impressive, I think. But, you like them all.
TitleMatchNetwork.com